Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio.
Well, today was pretty uneventful. I would say it was very peaceful and very quiet, right? I'd say so. What do you think?
Well, it wasn't until I turned on the news and found out that 2020 riots had some receipts they hadn't cashed in yet. So they're trying to squeeze them in the first week of 2021.
Oh, so you're saying that 2020 has the Pascal Siakam bubble effect going into 2021? Is that what you're trying to say?
Let's call it
Don't talk about Pascal Siakam like this. Messed up.
Well, first of all, you brought him up. We're talking about residual receipts that did not go cashed. Like RSP contribution room, you have like 90 days to fit in what you didn't get squeezed in for 2020. Kind of like that.
Yeah,
like
basically.
Fit it in. And we are the 6th, and Olympus has fallen. Rome is burning.
Yeah, so I mean, let's get into this. This is the emergency podcast. This is probably the first emergency podcast I think I've had on the Ave Podcast. But I mean, I don't even need to introduce this. I mean, you know what we're talking about now. I mean, this is crazy. So to start, like, okay, so you know what? Before I give you my opinion, what are your thoughts? Like, what were your thoughts when that came across your screen today?
No word of a lie, because we've covered a number of incidences that have happened previously, right? No word of a lie. Once I saw what was going on, I'm like, this is not a black-led protest. Once I just saw like protesters storming Capitol Hill on the ticker, and the proximity that they made it to the door and to the gate, you know what I mean? Like right at the gates. I'm like, wow, that non-existent privilege is sure is something, isn't it? And I just watched as they barged in, put feet on tables, and marched around dressed like Vikings, like they were going to some sort of rave or goth. You know what I mean? Like Burning Man. Some guy was dressed like an Ewok or something with a Viking helmet.
They were missing their glow sticks. That's the only thing they forgot to pack.
They had Jimmy Hart like megaphones and stuff. Like they brought everything they could. What's so amazing, they're carrying bullhorns, and bullhorns have like those handles, right?
Right.
No way, shape, or form were they ever misinterpreted as weapons that the police had to open fire or disperse the crowd. But can you imagine if somebody had, well, we can already imagine. Everyone's thinking the same thing, right?
Yeah,
like, would you just, sorry?
No, so essentially, yeah.
But you just watch and be like, wow, we could never get away with anything like this. We would be detained. First of all, we may have been pulled over on our way to said event, right? Because of DWB. Amazing. What a spectacle.
My first reaction looking at this was I got angry because the way I looked at it is I think this is a stark reminder of, in plain sight, that the system, again, is not made for us. I mean, it's as clear as day. And it doesn't matter how much, you may want to talk about equal rights. It doesn't matter how much you may want to talk about, the value of life and shooting everybody equally and all that stuff. And that all sounds great in theory. But when you look at the big picture, the system is not designed for us. The system is not made to protect and serve us, people who look like me and you, black. You know what I mean? And I mean, Kevin, like, there's so much things that went through my mind watching this. I don't want to talk too much without getting my tinfoil hat on, but I swear, like, there's so much thoughts that ran across my mind. Like, for example, like you're watching a system that I just found it weird, man. Like this crowd really rushed Congress. They really rushed the Capitol Hill like it was like Black Friday at Walmart. And when you see some of the videos, it was almost, it really had that effect of Black Friday at Walmart, because you're watching police like kind of open the gates. You know what I mean? Like, it was weird. Like, I saw some footage of like the cops with the barricades, and then afterwards they're just like, okay, let's go, guys. Okay, guys, let's go. And you're watching people, climb the walls of Capitol Hill. I mean, somebody got shot today and she died. And I don't think that was from, FBI or Secret Service or the police. I think that was just a Trump supporter letting a round off. So Kevin, man, to I just thought it was very interesting watching this entire ordeal happen, watching people crash Nancy Pelosi's office, feet on her desk, taking files. I'm like, for a place that's so secured, like this is one of the most secured buildings in the world. There was a woman, I think in a few years back, a black woman who got gunned down and died with her 13-month-old in the car when she breached the area of Capitol Hill. So how do you go from that? And now you're in a situation where you're having thousands of people, like something coming out of a movie where you're smashing windows, you're chasing police up the stairs. All the meanwhile, you got, the news cameras right behind them filming this. Like this is just a weird situation, man. I don't know.
You can be perplexed.
Hold on a second.
Sorry, go ahead.
Tinfoil hat off. Okay, go.
You can be perplexed, but at a certain point, after everything we've been through at this stage of our lives, you realize that I don't think I'm alone in thinking that, or maybe I am. It doesn't matter. Could this not have been orchestrated? Could there be like some sort of puppet master that allowed this to happen? You can't tell me that almost 20 years after 9/11, there's no security. There's no security, and these people are allowed to literally bum rush one of the landmark buildings in the United States. How is that possible that a mob of people are able to access, infiltrate, and overtake to the degree that you are able to make it right into, like, let's say the war room, basically, right? Like the headquarters where isn't that where State of the Unions are made, where half of the people cheer, the other half boo, but they still have to, where the president delivers that, they're able to make it in there. They never, that one shot was fired, maybe, or one person was hit. You have Secret Service, you have United States, there's no shortage of police officers, there's no shortage of military, there's no shortage of FBI, there's no shortage of Secret Service agents, and the whole order was like, you can tell if the order was given, hold the line, do not let them in, what would have happened. But it seems like the order was like, retaliate if they fight, if you have to, kind of thing, because it was so lax. And so there was so much more dialogue and communication for people that are storming a government building, right?
I mean, Kevin, they were taking selfies with cops. The whole thing was just weird to me, man. Yeah, and a lot of it too is, it's white supremacy and, white supremacy at its peak, basically. That was a ringing endorsement throughout this whole day is if this was black people, if this was Muslim people, would this have gone off? I mean, I can tell you if Black Lives Matter, if those protests, like this summer would have crashed the White House or would have crashed Capitol Hill like that, they might have dropped the bomb on them like they would have in Philadelphia. Maybe I should take that part out. But
no, that happened. That happened. Let people.
But that actually, you're right. That actually happened back in 1985. They bombed was it the police or the FBI? They bombed a black section of Philadelphia, completely bombed the neighborhood.
Correct.
It's like that's in our history. That wasn't that long ago. And you're looking at a situation now where you're like, if that was us, I mean, they would have been like, you know what? Do we really need Capitol Hill? We can build another one.
Well, I don't know who the labor is going to be to build Capitol Hill this time, but but I'm pretty sure they'd look a lot like that. Anyway, My question is, for all of these protests, who orchestrated this? And how is it in this era that, this must have been mobilized with social media on some sort of posts, right? Some sort of posts, chats, or digital technology. How is it nobody knew? You didn't know? Like, you didn't check, like, there's no surveillance, there's no, hey, sir, we're getting a lot of activity with these keywords, storm Capitol Hill at 3:00 tomorrow. Like, there's nobody reporting this? And everyone's going to act like, oh, we're surprised? Do you remember a few years ago when the levees broke for Katrina?
Right.
And at the end, the government response was like, we didn't know that a lot of water could cause the levees to break. You know what I mean? You're like, what do you mean? How do you not know? Of course you knew. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. It's kind of like the same thing where it's like, how did you not know this is how are you caught off guard? Really? So anyone could do this? So when black people are protesting, hey, we're being policed unjustly, newsflash, alert, or we're at least we're going to try calling you out on it. They're able to line up military like what was it? Star Trek, Clone Wars,
or G.I. Joe or something, right?
Attack Revenge of the Clones or something like that, where you just have an army of people fully equipped to the nines,
right,
ready to go. Or if, like, let's say if the native population were like, hey, we're protesting all these years of injustice, I'm pretty sure the response they would never be able to make it to the steps or even across the street. Or if Hispanics would mobilize and say, hey, listen, why are we still being held why are people still being held in cages? We demand results. Yo, there would have been some batoning. There would have been some open fire. The tanks would have been back out. They brought the tanks out for Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Well, you remember Donald Trump had a tweet during that time where he was stating that if you're damaging federal property and landmark buildings and statues and different things, and this continues, he's bringing out the dogs. He's bringing out he's got the militia. He's got the military at his disposal to come and break this up. I mean, where was that today? And that's the other touch point with him as well. I feel like he almost started his own army, his own political party. Like
he has a faction.
Yeah,
yes.
there's Republicans, there's Democrats, and then there's Trump supporters. It was weird, man. Like to watch, all that heat, and then his comment at the end of the day today was basically, guys, please go home. We love you, and like giving those same supporters a pat on the back when again a woman died in there. She got shot in her neck. Like they were walking out the protesters. They were walking out the protesters peacefully. It's honestly it's such a slap in the face to people that look like us, the way we were treated this summer as comparison to, or in the past, as comparison to how they were treated. I mean, you had militia and you had army and stuff that was coming for your head, for looting at Walmart or Target, and these guys crashed Capitol Hill. They were taking the microphone and the podium.
Yo, my man took the podium without a mask on, smiling for the camera. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure he's having dinner today or he's just being released from central booking. But he literally is stealing government property. Somebody else has their feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. And other people are chasing away government officials and chasing them down. And, the magnitude of it is ridiculous. And yes, you're right. There seems to be something wrong. By the way, if I just may say this, if ever you watch that footage for Trump, on his message, we love you.
I know.
Excuse me? Listen, I don't know if I'm supposed to be offended by that or if any of his children are supposed to be offended by that, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't say that to them. He's never been that emotional for them. Like Eric and Tiffany and Don Jr., or, maybe the other daughter, but I've never heard Trump so emotional. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's he appealing to? And why does it seem like that wasn't even recorded? Was he at the White House today too?
I'm not sure if he was or not, to be honest with you. But what's crazy?
Where was that recorded?
I'm not sure. But what's crazy though, Kevin? What's insane about all this is, man, you like Trump has been a millionaire, a billionaire, basically an elitist for most of his life, if not all of his life. Pretty much all of his life, right? Because his father was also wealthy. So it's all of his life. And yet he has middle America riding for him like this. Or like there's basically the people that stormed Capitol Hill most likely can't afford to go into one of his hotels. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, how crazy this is? A billionaire who would never, like, if he woke up tomorrow living in the houses that they're living in, he would do serious harm to himself. And yet these people are riding with him to this degree. Like, I find that crazy. I mean, I heard today there was a protest in Toronto. I'm like,
there was one in Washington as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, Seattle, Washington.
Oh, Seattle, Washington.
Like they're around that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure there was some in other places, right? Regarding, everything that happened, especially with the Senate seats in Georgia, like with the last set of voting that happened today. But this was like, I mean, this was beyond the man unhinged. Like, a president basically let the leash go on his own people, like basically on his own people, like his own politicians. He let the leash go. This is something you see, honestly, Kevin, this is something you see in like one of those decently scripted superhero movies. You know what I mean? Where the villain just says, I'm not leaving the White House by itself. Attack everybody, attack, and you're just going after everybody. Like, that's what it felt like. It's crazy, man. Like yeah, like this is insane. Like this is all the way insane. I know there's a lot of people, like just insulted by what they're seeing, and I get that too. They're disgusted by it as well. I get that too. But I just find it troubling that they were able to storm Capitol Hill with barely any resistance like that. I just don't know what to make of that without wearing a tinfoil hat. Seriously.
How again? And I know we're both perplexed, and we keep asking each other the same questions, like how. It almost seems. I say it seems scripted because there are two scenes. Remember the Batman with Bane,
right.
Dark Knight Rises or something, right? I think that was the one. Remember that scene where Bane just shows up and they take over Gotham's main building, and it's basically they chase the rich out,
right?
From their high lofty positions. They throw their stuff out the window, and Bane's the one leading them, and he has this group of goons basically that's saying we'll take the city and give it back to you, the people, right?
Right.
Why is that eerily reminiscent of what happened today? And another scene, taking from Batman villains, since I'm on track, the Joker. When he has his one-on-one scene with Batman, and he's like, "You've changed things. I can't go back to normal anymore. You've changed things. What am I going to do? Going back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You've changed things." Donald Trump has changed things. He's changed the way people see politics. If anything, he's peeled the veil off of privilege. And I mean, what was he doing before this? Wasn't he pardoning some people with questionable histories?
He pardoned a police officer who was known to basically, she went to jail basically because she would let her police officer, she would let her police dogs basically just destroy black people.
Mm-hmm.
for the smallest of crimes. Her own precinct testified against her, and she got pardoned. So these are some of the things that was happening in the last few weeks.
It's, again, the smokescreen is fantastic to distract you from what might really be happening. Follow the list of pardons that he has been providing, like he's been extending to people in his last few days. You want to talk about leadership? There's something else I find very interesting. Why does it seem like, again, that Trump footage seems like he wasn't anywhere near. It was like around sunset when he did it, and no one knows where he was, kind of thing. And then, like, for some reason, Biden had to come in. Look, this is America. Why didn't both of them just step to the podium and be like, we need to have peace? This is not the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like that. It was like, what's going on? Who's in charge? And the funny thing is, nobody knows who's in charge. No one knows who's in charge of the riot, and no one knows who is in charge of, like, you know, in that office. And why isn't somebody doing anything? And we know, you and I know, and everybody of color knows, and everyone that's been disenfranchised and misrepresented, everyone knows, if they wanted to do something, they would have done something. They chose not to do anything, and they got orders from the highest level. Don't do anything.
Yeah,
that's the scary part.
That's the scary part. That's the beyond scary point. And the sad thing is, because I mean, I kind of want to keep this short, and the reason why I want to keep this short is, honestly speaking, I don't think this is over. So I don't feel like this is going to be the last time I talk about this over the next 2 days. Not next 2 days, but next 2 weeks. Because the inauguration is in 2 weeks, is on the 20th, right? What's that going to look like? You know, I mean, they're not going to do it the normal way that they've done it, because obviously we're still in a pandemic. But, like, what is that going to look like? You know, like, what are the next week? What's the next few days going to look like? You know, between now and then. So that's the stuff where I'm kind of like, I don't feel like this is necessarily over, which is, I mean, you could say it's scary, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But I mean, considering what happened today, how else are you supposed to look at this? You know what I mean? Kevin, I'm perplexed, man. I'm perplexed.
How are you able to overtake a government building and nobody fired a shot to defend the building?
Well, I had said today, too, that, you know, I don't even know where I said it, if it was a chat group or what have you, but I'm I'm expecting to see tear gas smoke and, you know, riot dogs and you know, tear gas canisters and everything else like we saw this summer. And instead I'm seeing selfies. That to me is like, wow, like, this is how we're doing this? Okay. All right. You know, it's, you know, so it's a little troubling. So I mean, I would say, you know, for especially anybody that looks like us, I mean, and this is why I kept saying, you know, throughout the summer, like, what are we gonna do after the protests fade? You know what I mean? Like, where's that energy gonna go? And I would advise that you keep that same energy that we had in May and June. And I don't mean rioting and tearing up buildings, but I mean, like, still keeping that energy high, enlightening yourself, fighting for that cause, you know, fighting for your community, fighting for your people, investing in your people. I think is like one of the bigger things too. And I mean, we got to keep that energy high. I don't think this is the time to let that quiet down. You know, fighting to who, Calvin? Fighting to who? I urge everybody to listen to The Ballad or the Bullet. It's one of Malcolm X's greatest speeches. You can find it on YouTube. Just listen to it and realize that ain't a damn thing changed for the past 60 years. There's no way, if a government wanted to do something, they could do it. And they have the muscle and power to do it. If ever you doubt, just think about it for a second and apologize for not thinking so. They chose not to do anything. Yeah, it's people have been played, and the one thing about this current administration is that they weren't even lying about how badly they're playing us. They were playing people, right? Yeah. So when you're
millionaires and lobbyists and people there are debating whether to give you $600 bills or $2,000 bills. Really? Really?
Yeah.
This is the great debate. You can't even come middle ground and be like 1,400. Sorry, I fought for 6. Sorry, I fought for 2,000. Let's meet in the middle and just make. You know what I mean? Nothing along those lines. Nope. As a matter of fact, nothing for anybody. We can't figure out how much money to give you. Really? This is where we're at in 2020. All these people, because again, when you had two parties and it's not somebody as divisive as this president, as this president, you could you kind of hit it in the closet what side you were on. But he brought out something in people where it's just like, burn it to the ground, or I'll die on this hill, and you can see the venom and vitriol in people's faces as they stormed in.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine. You're vandalizing your own government's building. How is that not, what do you call it? Criminal? Treason? How have they not brought in people to arrest everybody that is there and then charge them for not wearing a mask on top of it and trespassing for good reason? You know how many charges would have been laid on people of color had they dared think about something like this? Look at what happened to the Black Panthers when they stormed. What was it? They went to Sacramento. Mm-hmm. When Reagan was delivering a speech or something like that, but like Bobby Seale and all of them, they all showed up with shotguns and they stormed the building. You saw what the response was to that and how they dismantled that so quickly.
Yep.
But yet and the extent to which they went, the FBI was involved, CIA, everyone was involved. And yet you're going to let all these people just go in, break windows, walk off with podiums, put their feet on Yo, Calvin, you want a movie? Casino. Do you remember that scene in Casino where one of Joe Pesci's henchmen put his feet on the casino table? And when De Niro phones him, he's like, yeah, he had his feet on the table. He was telling me to go F myself or whatever like that. And Pesci calls him over. He's like, you put your feet on his table. You better go over there and apologize. And he smacked him in the head with the phone. You remember that?
Yeah.
He called him you fat hick or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was great. That guy got more punishment than the guy that had his feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. You tell me privilege doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I can't. I won't. Not going to do it. Let's wrap this up. But like I said, I have a feeling we're going to be revisiting this topic over the next few weeks or so, unfortunately. So we can leave this here for now. But thank you for listening to the this latest edition, this emergency podcast edition of the Ave Podcast today. Continue to like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, which means Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Alexa. Go ahead and check out the YouTube channel. I thank you once again for all your support. Love you guys for that. Continue to listen in. We'll be back. We'll be back in the next little bit. Kevin, thank you for hopping on this emergency edition today, just to have this clear topic on what it is that we saw today with our own eyes. It's almost like I still can't believe it, but I'm glad we had this conversation today because I just sat there today looking at this and I'm like, there's no way I can't talk about this. This is crazy. This is too crazy to kind of ignore this. We could talk about football in the NBA tomorrow. We could talk about the Raptors later. But there's bigger things at hand here in terms of what we're seeing, in terms of life right now. So, but thank you for hopping on, though. It's been a pleasure.
What message does this send to the people?
I said thank you.
It's a rhetorical question. Anytime, bro. Anytime.
All right, everybody. Once again, thank you for listening to the Ave Podcast. For Kevin W., this is Cal C. And you just listened to the latest edition of the Ave Podcast. Until next time, peace. We out.